This is Terraform 0 to Hero, Lesson 3. I'm your instructor, Evan Gertis. So we're going to talk about providers. What is a provider configuration? So Terraform relies on plugins called providers, and this allows us to interact with remote systems. Now, the important thing is this must be in the root module of the Terraform configuration. Here's an example. We have a provider Google, and the project is Acme App, and the region is US Central 1. The name in the given block of the header is Google, and that is the local name of the provider to configure, and the body is what's between the curly braces. That contains the configuration arguments for the provider. There are other arguments that we could specify inside of the provider block. Alias is one of those. Version is another one, but it's no longer used. So we use alias for using the same provider with different configurations and different resources. Here's an example. Here we're declaring the provider AWS, and we're using US East 1, and then we're declaring another provider AWS, and we're specifying the alias West. So this will allow us to access aws.west, and that'll correspond to region US West 2 instead of using US East 1. Terraform settings are settings that are gathered inside of Terraform blocks. The important thing here is that only constant values can be used. The arguments cannot refer to objects such as resources or input variables. So the syntax uses a backend as a keyword, and that configures the backend that Terraform should use. And then there's another keyword for an attribute, required version. And this ties it to a specific version for that block. If you're running a version of Terraform that doesn't match those constraints that are specified, you'll get an error. This is what it looks like. So here we're pinning this version to 2.7.0. So if we try to run this with anything less than that, we would get an error. There's also another feature in Terraform blocks. These are experimental language features. They're not very, I have never seen one used in practice, but there are releases where experimental features are available, and you can specify those inside of the Terraform block. One of those is lifecycle. Personally, I haven't used it. It might be something that will show up in the future, but at the time of making this video, it's not really relevant. That's it for this lesson. I hope you enjoyed.